Alright, let's take another look at Baochai from a different angle. We gotta talk about something, and that's Baoyu getting a beatdown. He got a real bad thrashing, almost got himself killed. Later, when Granny Jia found out, it was that vixen Shifeng who got wind of it first, right? She rushed over and grabbed hold of her husband, Jia Zheng, to stop him from laying into Baoyu anymore, and then she started bawling, right? I'm getting on in years. I've only got one son. If he kicks the bucket, who am I gonna lean on in the future? If Jia Zhu was still around, I wouldn't be worried, right? Jia Zhu was her first son, who croaked young, leaving behind a widow, Li Wan. Now, there's only Baoyu left. Speaking of which, Jia Zheng also felt remorseful, and later Granny Jia showed up. She was fuming, saying, I know you can't stand the pair of us. We'll skedaddle right away, and then she told the servants to pack up and leave. Her son even knelt down at that point. That's the scene where Baoyu got a beating, right? Okay, so we're at chapter 33 now, and why did Baoyu get beaten? Well, two things were happening. First off, who's Baoyu close to? Jiang Yuhan, also known as Qiguan in the theater. Jiang Yuhan and Baoyu are like best buds, right? Remember how I mentioned Lu Xianglian, Jiang Yuhan, Qin Zhong, and Jia Baoyu? Also at one point, Baoyu thought some other dude named Zhen Baoyu was his spiritual buddy as well, right? But then, it turns out this Zhen Baoyu is all about that real life, you know? He's into climbing the social ladder, chasing after money and power, right? So, basically, he's not on the same page as Baoyu, and there are now 4 like-minded friends left. So Jiang Yuhan and Baoyu are really tight, and a lot of folks know it, especially Xue Pan. Anyway, at that time, Jiang Yuhan was staying in some prince's palace, and then suddenly, he disappeared. Now, let's focus on what happened in the 33rd chapter. This guy from Prince Zhongshuan's palace shows up to see the boss. Jia Zheng is all confused like, why would they send someone here? We don't usually have anything to do with them. So this dude explains, I'm here on behalf of the prince, there's just one thing I need from you. Our mansion has this actor Qiguan, who plays a young female character, and the prince totally adores him. But now he's gone, and we can't find him anywhere in the city. 8 out of 10 people in the city are saying he's been hanging out a lot with the young master with the jade pendant. Everybody knows about the close bond between Jiang Yuhan and Baoyu, so they're here to look for him. Jia Zheng is freaking out about this, so he immediately calls for Baoyu to come over. Then something else happened. After sending away the person who came from the Duke of Zhongshuan's mansion, Jia Zheng told Baoyu not to leave and said, I have something to ask you when I come back. After the official had left, Jia Zheng turned around and suddenly saw Jia Huan running around with a few young lads. Jia Zheng ordered the lads to catch Jia Huan, and upon seeing his father, Jia Huan was frightened and stood still with his head bowed. Jia Zheng inquired, why were you running? Sensing his father's anger, Jia Huan swiftly seized the opportunity to disparage Baoyu. He explained, I wasn't running, father. I was simply passing by the well nearby. It was there that I discovered the lifeless body of a maid named Jin Chuaner who had drowned. That's all. Jia Zheng questioned, but why would she jump into the well without any apparent reason? Jia Huan replied, Father, there's no need to be upset. Apart from those in Madame's chambers, nobody else is aware of this incident. I overheard my mother mentioning it, specifically Zhao Auntie. As he spoke, Jia Huan discreetly surveyed his surroundings. Understanding his son's implication, Jia Zheng glanced at the servants, who, comprehending the situation, discreetly stepped back. In a hushed tone, Jia Huan revealed, My mother informed me that a few days ago, Baoyu attempted to coerce Jin Chuaner, a maid in Madame's chambers, but his advances were unsuccessful. Enraged, he resorted to physical violence, and in her despair, she tragically threw herself into the well and perished. Let's move on to the second part of chapter 33. First, when Lady Wang came in, hugging Baoyu, she saw that he looked pale and weak, wearing a green gauze shirt with bloodstains underneath. She couldn't bear it, and she untied the bandages to see his back and legs. They were all bruised, with much of the skin broken, with no good spot at all, and she couldn't help but cry in sorrow for her unfortunate son. Okay, let's skip a few parts. When Grandma Jia arrived, Jia Zheng felt helpless. Looking at Baoyu, she lamented, "You replaced Zhuer too soon. If only you had kept Zhuer, your father wouldn't be angry, and I wouldn't have wasted half my life worrying. If something were to happen to you now, who would I rely on?" Jia Zheng, feeling regretful for his actions, tried to convince Grandma Jia, who tearfully said, "What are you doing here? Aren't you satisfied enough in your heart that you have to watch your son die?" After hearing this, Jia Zheng left. Alright, let's dive into this super interesting part now. So, there were a bunch of people in the mix. Xue Ant, Baoyu, Xiangling, Xiren, and Shi Shangyun were all in the scene. Xiren was feeling seriously upset, but she couldn't just show it all out. She was holding back her feelings while watching everyone else doing their thing, pouring water, fanning, and she couldn't join in. So, she decided to just step out and head to the front of the second gate. Now, why was Xiren feeling so upset? What was bothering her? Well, it totally makes sense when you think about it. See, Xiren used to be a maid-serving Lady Dowager, right? Lady Dowager adored her grandson and thought Xiren was super loyal and dependable, like she really had her act together, yeah? So, Lady Dowager sent her to look after Baoyu. Xiren took on that mission. She'd been loyal to Baoyu and hadn't messed up for years, and now she's getting treated like this. It's totally understandable why she's feeling so down. She's been taking care of Baoyu without a hitch, right? But now, with everyone else busy doing stuff like pouring water and fanning, she just felt out of place. So, she just walked away and got the servants to make her some tea so she could have a chat about what happened. Xiren was all like, "Yo Beiming, he is Baoyu's attendant, what's up with the fight that went down while you were hanging with Baoyu? And why didn't you let anyone know, huh?" Beiming was like, "Yo, I wasn't there when it all started, and only found out about it halfway through. I had to hustle and find out what went down, and it turns out it was all about Xiaoguan and Sister Jin Chuaner." Then Xiren was like, "How did the big boss," referring to Jia Zheng, "find out about it?" Beiming said, "It's probably 'cause Uncle Xue was feeling jealous about Qiguan and couldn't handle his stuff, so he got someone to stir things up and then snitched to the big boss. And as for Sister Jin Chuan's deal, Third Master, referring to Jia Huan, mentioned it, I overheard the big boss's crew talking about it." When Xiren heard all this, she was like, sounds pretty legit, I'd say about 80 to 90% believable. She knew these deets would come in handy later. Then everyone was busy tending to Baoyu's wounds, and Grandmother Jia was like, "Get him back to his room," so Baoyu bounced back to the Gihong garden. How badly was he beaten? Xiren, with tears in her eyes, asked, "How did it come to this?" She saw that the top of his leg was all swollen and bruised, about 4 fingers wide. Clenching her teeth, she said, "My goodness, how could they be so brutal? If only you had listened to me, it wouldn't have come to this." Now someone has come to see Baoyu. Baochai has arrived. How did Baochai come? Xiren, seeing he wasn't dressed properly, grabbed a thin blanket to cover Baoyu. Baochai held a pill and told her to dissolve it in wine at night and use it to treat his injuries, to disperse the stagnant blood and infection. As we read this part of Dream of the Red Chamber, we can see another meaning. Baochai is bringing medicine to treat Baoyu. It's not just about medicine, is it? In Baochai's eyes, Baoyu himself is toxic and needs to be cleansed. In ancient China, especially during the Ming dynasty, there was a pretty awful thing that happened. If the emperor got publicly angry, it was a big deal. Only the ministers would go to court, right? And if any minister offended the emperor and faced immediate punishment, he could suffer from mild to severe injury or even death. So, it was common for officials to get hurt in court, right? That's why traditional Chinese medicine came into play and developed specific treatments for injuries caused by punishment. Every official's family had this medicine ready, just in case. They might have to take dozens of tablets one day, grind them with wine, and apply the medicine. Hey, even Baochai has this medicine. It seems like she knew she might need it someday, and now she is using it. She just needs to cool down his infection and detoxify him, and then she asks Baoyu, is he feeling better? Baoyu thanked her and then indicated for her to sit. When she saw that he opened his eyes and didn't mumble like before, she felt a lot of relief in her heart. She nodded and sighed, if you had listened to me, it wouldn't have come to this. Isn't it the same as what Xiren had said earlier? It's exactly the same, so Xiren is like Baochai's shadow. Not to mention the old lady in Madame's heartache, even when we look at him, we should also feel heartbroken. But Baochai would never openly admit her feeling. At this moment, she couldn't help but feel heartbroken, so what is Baochai after all when we see her? She's a girl, and she does have a genuine affection for Baoyu in her heart, which cannot be denied. So she couldn't help but speak it out. But once she did, she regretted it. After saying a few words in a hurry, she swallowed her words and felt anxious. She blushed and unconsciously lowered her head. This was not just a pretense. Baoyu heard those words, so deep and meaningful, and then he saw her getting all choked up and stopping, blushing and looking down to fiddle with her sash. She was so shy and timid, it was beyond words, and he just felt this huge sense of relief, like all the pain had just vanished. Then he started thinking, I've only taken a few beatings, and they all show such tenderness and sorrow. Their pitiful and respectable gestures are so intriguing. If I were to die suddenly, they would feel such sorrow. If I were to die now and get treated like this by them, I'd think it was worth it. Even if all my life's work came to nothing, I wouldn't regret it. If, in the grand scheme of things, I didn't feel content, it could be said that I was a confused spirit. As he thought about this, he heard Baochai asking Xiren, how did everything get so heated that led to such a beating? Up to that point, Baoyu had been completely clueless about girls. He thought everyone cared about him, especially the young ladies, you know? He believed that women were the purest and most caring individuals in the world. With their attention, it wouldn't even matter if all his life's work went down the drain. But boy, was he mistaken. Later on, something clicked for him. What did he witness? Well, just a girl from a traveling troupe, head over heels for someone else, Jia Xiang. Whenever Baoyu tried to strike up a conversation with her, she would give him the cold shoulder. But the moment Jia Xiang showed up, she'd light up. And then there was this one time when she caught Jia Xiang carving the character Xiang in the sand. It finally hit Baoyu that not all women in the world would dote on you like that. Everyone has their own love story, and it's meant for just one person. I mean, this girl couldn't care less about Baoyu. He'd never faced anything like it before, right? It wasn't until that moment that it dawned on him. Back then, he just didn't get it and thought, Gee, everyone's so sympathetic and sorrowful seeing me in this state. I could just keel over. So, Xiren just spilled the beans to Baoyu about what Beiming said, and Baoyu was totally clueless about Jia Huan's situation up until then. Then, Xiren also brought Xue Pan into the mix, thinking that he had been egging people on to complain to the master. But Baoyu's like, whoa, hold up, Xue Pan ain't like that at all, and we shouldn't jump to conclusions. Baochai got that he was just looking out for her feelings, so he used his words to shut Xiren down. In her heart, though, she was low-key thinking that even when he was hurting and couldn't take care of himself, he still went out of his way to be considerate. He was all worried about offending people, showing he really cared about them. If he could be so attentive, why not put in some effort in important matters outside? If he did that, the master would be pleased. That's what was on her mind. He didn't need to take a hit like that, but he was clearly being careful not to hurt her feelings, hence stopping Xiren from talking. Didn't he realize my brother's wild and unrestrained nature? In the past, just for a Qin zhong, it caused a huge uproar. Obviously, now it's even worse than before. When she thought about it, she chimed in, there's no need to go blaming this person or that person. In my opinion, it's because Baoyu doesn't always do the right thing and hangs out with those people, that's why the master is mad. Baoyu can't quite see things the way she does. She thinks Baoyu's mingling with folks like Lu Xianglian, Qin Zhong, and Jiang Yuhan is all off. Even if my brother speaks out of turn and mentions Baoyu, it's not like he's trying to stir up trouble. First of all, it's the truth, and secondly, he's not the type to bother with these petty issues. Miss Xiren has only seen brother Baoyu being so caring since they were kids. Have you ever seen someone who's not afraid to speak their mind? Xiren, of course, was already regretting what she said and felt even more embarrassed when Baoyu kept talking. When Baoyu heard Baochai's words, he felt really good. It made him feel dignified and it cleared up his suspicions a bit. Get it, Baoyu? Even if Baochai said it, she also believed that it was guessing what her brother had said. But it gave Baoyu some comfort, that Xue Pan didn't mean any harm to you, he's just got that kind of personality. What a thing, huh? It cleared up Baoyu's suspicions. If these suspicions weren't cleared, what would that mean for Baoyu and Xue Pan from now on? They wouldn't be friends anymore, they'd always be on guard, right? Baoyu didn't want to see that happen, so she stuck up for Xue Pan. That speech meant a lot to Baoyu. Baoyu understood that he and her brother would still be friends, so he felt more at ease than before and was about to talk when he saw Baochai getting up and saying, I'll come and see you again tomorrow, take care of yourself. I leave the medicine with Xiren, apply it tonight, it'll help. With that, she walked out. After Baochai left, Baoyu drifted off into a half-asleep, half-awake daze. As readers, we must be eagerly anticipating another person's arrival, Dayu.